right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Man, it's already started off with a bang. Looking forward to talking to y'all today. I've got some good news. We've got TikTok now joining us. So we made it to enough followers to be able to go live. So thank you very much, everybody, for doing that. And so looking forward to getting to know everybody. All right, so we got Instagram up and running. It's like a sequence here. It's like launching a freaking rocket sometimes. All right, so today we are talking about how ignoring problems can actually lead to bigger issues. And this is something when it comes to dealing with leadership, when it comes to, you know, just individuals working with other people. Maybe you're on the receiving end of something. Maybe you're that employee that's coming up to your boss and saying, "Hey, listen, I've got this challenge going on." We're going to help kind of cover a lot of all of these different layers here today. All right. So, first off, I want to kind of go through a couple of things. One of the things that I want to talk about is that, if you're an employee going up to a boss or your leader, telling them that you've got a problem, I want to kind of help solidify a couple of thoughts. So first off, if you understand how leaders make decisions, it could potentially spare you a lot of personal heartache. And what I mean by that is that leaders will always make decisions based off of money, and not because it's a money grubbing kind of thing. It's not like a Scrooge McDuck type of situation. Is that every decision that they make goes into the company, and so they have to justify every decision that they make, especially when it comes financially. So that also equates to how they're spending their time, where they're putting their time investment and resources. And so that's one aspect of it. Second aspect of it is that they don't see the connection between money, and they don't see the connection between the ROI. They may not necessarily recognize something as an actual problem. And so to them, a lot of the things that we as employees will run into, they don't make that connection. Okay. They don't make the connection that it's actually preventing you from achieving something, or it's preventing, like, you have an obstacle in your way. Unless you're articulate about that, they're not going to see it. And then here's the honest truth. And I can say this, I'm a CEO, I own several companies. Unfortunately, if they don't understand that the problem that you're bringing to them is actually an obstacle that you cannot move, you cannot fix, you cannot resolve, they may not necessarily just plain old see it as a problem. And if that's the case, then ultimately what's going to happen is that they're not going to address it. Okay. So there's a couple of things that, from the employee to the leader dynamic, you can do. And that is, when you're talking to them, really help them understand, be very clear that, hey, this is a problem that I can't solve. That's the very first statement that you should make. This is a problem I can't solve. And hopefully your leader says, okay, well, help me understand what's going on. So if you frame it in a way that they understand the level of severity for you, which basically is, if you can't resolve it and if you can't fix it, you can't move the obstacle out of your way, it's on them. Like, every leader owns every single problem in the company. They do. That doesn't mean that they resolve every single problem in the company. And when they are dealing with all these issues, they're hopefully working, they've got people under them, they delegate them, they've got other individuals who are very qualified to go ahead and do it. So they have to deal with the massive problems that only they can actually handle. So when somebody comes up to them and it's not very clear that this is an immovable object for me, like, I can't resolve this, and it could be, more than often, it's either a process issue or it's a people issue, right? There's really kind of only two issues that we have in business. And if you help them understand that, hey, listen, this is a situation to where I've got a challenge with an individual. I don't know how to get around it. There's nothing I can say. Like, I can't force them to do anything. They're not stepping up to the level of doing their job. That's an immovable object for you guys. Now, there's only so much that you can do to work around it. So this is a little bit reverse of what I normally talk about. Right now, I'm talking about employees communicating with their employer or their leader or their supervisor or manager or whatever, right? And the more that they understand where you're coming from, the more they'll be able to take a step back and say, okay, is this really something that you can or cannot move past? This morning, I had a conversation with one of my clients. I'm like, what is going on with the particular individual? I can't fix that. That's something that, I don't know what more to do about it, because it's not something that I have any latitude or room to actually move on. So he said, got it, understood. And he's going to go ahead and handle that. Now, if you acknowledge issues early, likelihood of you being able to resolve them, much more stronger. Okay. If you are a leader, if you are a supervisor working with a wide variety of people, and you start to notice that there's some changes, if you ignore them, they're only going to get bigger and they're going to frustrate a lot of people. Acknowledge issues early on. Now, acknowledging doesn't necessarily mean you actually have to do something with them. Just acknowledge that, okay, here's a challenge that we have to go on, right? And if you pay attention to small warning signs before they actually get bigger, they escalate, it'll help you address some of the minor concerns, of which some of them you don't even need to address. You just have to talk to an individual and ask them, like, okay, so this is going on. Here's where the shortfall is. It seems to be landing in your lap. How are you going to change this? How are you going to fix this? Right? If you do it that way and you hold them accountable, what's going to happen is it's going to prevent the issue from becoming larger. So if you catch it early, it'll tend to go away. Right? Now, and a lot of people are kind of going like, yeah, ingenious. But you'd be surprised at how many leaders that I see on a regular basis don't take a moment to stop and address even the smallest things. Because again, they may not necessarily recognize it. Or number two, that there's this challenge that's taking place of exchanging their number one commodity for something they may not necessarily see fitting into the bigger picture. But it's all these little bitty tiny things that keep adding up that will create larger issues, right? You also, as a leader, even as an employee, like, leaders should be creating a culture of open communication. But here's the thing, employees have to step through that door. Okay. People have to be constantly encouraging one another to speak up. Because if people don't speak up, nothing changes. The problem is that most of us are afraid of judgment of some kind. We're just always afraid of being judged poorly because we're raising our hand or we're demonstrating that there's a concern with something. All right. Openness is different than being transparent. All right. When you're transparent means that you're simply acknowledging something for what it is. Openness now starts to sound like this roiling story that keeps going on, lots of excuses involved in it. And ultimately what's going to happen is that it actually turns people off, and we don't want that. That's not a good thing. Thank you very much for that. I got a big thumbs up on that one, right? Openness, being transparent about things, is more important than being open as far as communication. However, be willing. Openness in regard to creating a culture of open communication. Openness here simply means is that you have to have an open mind. In other words, you can't let your internal judgments about things cloud your vision. You can't let your individual filter, which is how we judge the world. We all have a filter. Right? This is one of my favorite quotes of all time that one of my favorite mentors has given me. He says, it's like your worldview or how you see the world is like holding a lemon in one hand and then putting on a pair of blue glasses. And when you look at the blue glasses you look at the lemon through the blue glasses, what color is the lemon? A lot of people will say it's green, right? When in fact, the lemon is still yellow. So our life experiences are what colors how we see the world. And it's very fair to say that people that have grown up in New York City have vast different experiences from people that have grown up in, let's say, Tucson, Arizona, right? We have subcultures throughout here in the United States, and sometimes those subcultures start to kind of collide. So we may not necessarily see the world the same way. I get teased a lot because my friends are like, God, you're really gullible sometimes. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I am. And it's because my worldviews, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. And then when I see them starting to mesh up, then I start pushing away, right? So if you're a leader, my recommendation is to create that culture of open dialogue, meaning that your employees should feel comfortable coming to you with problems and they should not walk away feeling like you're brushing them off. If you are like that, you're not going to get very far and you're going to wind up losing a lot of really good people. But if you're that individual that is able to say, I hear what you're saying, help me understand more about what it is that you're going through, and you're acknowledging it at the very minimum. Okay, don't make a promise that you can't keep. Don't do that. That's not good. But here's the thing. Even though you may not be able to fix something right away or address it, come back and just check in with the person and see how things are going, right? Sometimes it could be a situation that works its way out all on its own. Sometimes it's a situation to where time just needs to evolve, or there are things that you honestly can't even chat about or talk about. And if that's the case, then make sure that you're doing regular check-ins with your team, okay? Make sure that you're monitoring for support. Make sure that you're monitoring for morale. And take a very proactive approach, which is going to allow you to spot and resolve issues before they actually go out of control. And that's one element that I see that happens quite a bit is that leaders, when they come in, they're actually not monitoring what's going on, even though they may not necessarily be in a position to address it, or they feel like it's not the time to address something like that, which may happen. But where the fall down is that there's no continuous monitoring of the situation. If you monitor consistently and if you monitor consecutively, then what's going to happen is you're going to be well dialed in to what's actually going on. So that's what I got for you today. So if you are in a leadership position, here's my phone's going crazy. These are the things that you can do to actually prevent the whole world starting to blow up on you. And if you are an individual who is working for a supervisor and you notice that individuals are not addressing something, start putting together articulate reasons as to why you need their help. And that's what I got for you today. So for those of you who are just joining and didn't hear the opening on this, my name is Brenda Neckfottle. I have been dealing with difficult people my whole life, and I seem to have become quite a pro at it. And so one of the things that I do is I come on Monday through Friday. I go live. This is the first time on TikTok Live, so I'm pretty excited about it. And I start talking about I talk about leadership and how to deal with difficult individuals. And, the cool thing is that when you deal with difficult people as a leader, you can deal with difficult people anywhere else in your life. And even if you're just an employee and you're not in a management position, you're still a leader in some capacity of your life. Everybody leads and everybody follows. That's the key. That's the trick. So I would love to have you guys come back and join. Happy to have you on. We've got everybody over on Facebook. We've got LinkedIn. We've got our Instagram up and going and YouTube. So you can find all of those. If you look me up in those channels, you'll be able to find previous episodes. We'd love to have you check that out. And I just really want to thank you guys for joining. I think I had like 200 people in here at one point. So that was pretty fantastic for a first day. I'll take it, especially on a Monday. So again, catch you tomorrow around 10 a.m. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a good one.